Hello there, welcome back to my channel. I'd like to thank everybody that commented on my previous videos wondering when the next part will be coming out. So I apologise for it taking a little while, but life has been quite busy and now we're settled, and I think that I can start to continue the series and keep them more regular. This time I'm going to be talking about setting the white balance on your camera before you take the photos and why it's important to do so. So as I just mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the importance of understanding white balance today and how it can potentially ruin your photos if you don't have it set properly on your camera. So firstly, you need your white balance set correctly so that it can be a true representation of the colours in your photo. White balance is measured in colour temperature. A yellow tone to your photos will be roughly 2000 to 3500 Kelvin, whereas more blue tones will be roughly 4500 to 7000 Kelvin. So just to show you the difference between white balances, I'll show you the differences on the photos that you'll see now. So as you can see, such a simple thing, if overlooked, can really make a big difference to your photo. Chances are, if you're shooting in RAW mode, then you will be editing the white balance afterwards with the photos. But if you're shooting a JPEG, then it's much more difficult to alter the look of the photo. So it does make sense to actually get the white balance first in the settings on your camera, and then you're going to end up with the result that you want at the end. I've actually been shooting in RAW and JPEG, but lately I found it's just easier for me to shoot in JPEG. My photo editing skills still have a lot to be improved on, so for me shooting in JPEG is much easier, so it makes more sense for me to get the photos right as much as I can beforehand to improve the editing on the other side. And also if you really like the Wi-Fi feature on this camera, then it's definitely best. Obviously you'll be using the JPEG and you'll be sending photos straight from your camera to your phone or computer, especially if you're sending them straight to your phone, editing them and maybe putting them straight on Instagram, then it's really important for you to get the white balance right, to get your photos exactly as you want them really. As mentioned, you have a lot more options when it comes to setting the white balance, so I will go over the important ones now. So first of all, you've got the auto white balance, which I've actually quite a lot of the time actually have set on my camera. I think it actually does quite a good job of getting the photos the way I want them to. Auto white balance will be between 3000 and 7000 Kelvin. It basically adjusts the camera to the lighting around so that the colours look natural irrespective of the light source. I use this setting quite a lot and it does a really good job, to be honest. The main times that I will then think about adjusting the white balance is when the lighting is not so great, or it's getting later on in the day, or particularly at this time of the year where it's just generally quite gloomy early on in the afternoon. So then you've got the sunny daylight mode, which is 5200 Kelvin, and this is for natural colours under a clear sky. Then you have shadow shade setting, which is 7000 Kelvin, and this is for when you're in the daylight but you're in the shade. And then you have cloudy, which is 6000 Kelvin. That's for natural colours under a cloudy sky. And then you have incandescent, which is 3200 Kelvin. This is one I've used quite a lot recently when I'm indoors and I've got a lot of artificial lighting and I want to take a photo but it's coming out really yellowy. So I'll often set it to incandescent, which will give it more bluey tones, and it just gives a much better looking photo. And then when I do edit it, I can usually get it looking how I want it to, rather than just really artificially yellow. Then you've got fluorescent, which is 4000 Kelvin, and that's for natural colours under fluorescent lighting. You've got capture white balance, you've got 4 options. And in this option, the camera will ask you to take a picture of a white object, a piece of paper or something similar, and then it will take a picture of that, and then you'll be able to set it as the white that you want to be reflected in your photos. And then you've got custom white balance, which you set this in Kelvin. In this setting you can choose the white balance depending on what environment you're in. But when you're using your camera indoors and you need the flash, it's always recommended to use the auto white balance or to use a custom white balance. So if you can set it right in the camera, then straight away your photos are going to look much better. So to make things easier for you, if you go into the description and click on the link, I have made a handy cheat sheet for you on setting your white balance. So you can download and keep that if that's helpful for you. That's pretty much it for white balance. I really hope that you found this useful. I know it wasn't something that I looked at when I first got my camera, and it's only recently been in the last few months whereas I've actually been considering the white balance when taking my photos, and it really has made a major difference to the quality of my photos. So in the future parts of the series, I'm going to be going on to cover aperture, shutter speed, ISO, color profile, as well as showing you how I edit my photos in Photoshop. So please give this video a like if you've enjoyed what I've been talking about today and if it's been helpful to you. And of course, I would love you to subscribe so that you can keep up to date with my next installment, which won't be too long, I promise you. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.